Hello, Force. This is Captain Fruit reporting for duty, and today I'm going to be reviewing BatGirl issue number 44. And before I do get to that, if you want to help out this channel, some of the easiest ways you do it is like, subscribe, and hit that notifications bell. Share this channel with others. Let's talk about fun comics and games and have a great time. Also, if you find yourself in a financial position you can help, we do have a Patreon and a Subscribe Star where you can join both those for as little as $1 a month. You'll get special videos. You'll get special information on my comic book that I'm currently working on, the C-List as well. And that money is going to be going towards helping me continue the channel grow as well as getting this comic book done. And I hope that you enjoy these and let me know what your thoughts are. Alright, so BatGirl issue number 44 was written by Cecil Castellucci. Tends to scream feminist here, but I always like to give him a chance. And the art is by Kane Tormey. And this particular issue, Gotham City, is in the events now after the City of Bane storyline. That's when this is taking place. So the neighborhoods, I guess, have gotten worse and things like that in Barbara's area. So, it is what it is. And Barbara Gordon's friends and neighbors are trying to rebuild those homes and things that were destroyed during the City of Bane storyline. She is also, Barbara's facing a conflict of who she wants to really be with. Dick Grayson or this new potential love interest, or maybe none of the above. And so this issue, it makes me scratch my head. This whole story behind the medieval crimes it's putting an interesting spin. It's a continuation of issue 43 where a guy comes into our world because he's in love with this lady, and he's a king of this world and can manifest things of his own choice because he has the power to do that. And he brings this lady back because he loves her, and he's in the process of trying to save her. Now, let's talk about this a little bit deeper, shall we? So Barbara went into this weird kind of world based on this guy that took the lady that he loves, and one of her potential love interests, Jason, was pulled in as well. And this Earth type of place is called Unearth. Interesting name. But anyway, we're starting right off the bat with Barbara fighting none other than a dragon. And within this very first page, we've got that little jarring bit of feminism there. We have Jason saying, "We're going to die. Nothing can fight that thing. Not even you, Batgirl." And we get Batgirl's thoughts. It says, "I don't need him underestimating me right now. I have a dragon to fight." And then, how does one fight a dragon? So first, she says, she doesn't need him underestimating her. But then she contradicts herself in her own thought of, how the heck do I do this? Maybe, just maybe, Jason has a point. But girl power and all overrides logic, clearly. And this dragon was created by the maker, the guy that was in love pulling the woman into this world, because it was an ingredient that he needs to make a potion, spell, or whatever that's going to be used to heal his love interest. Once again, if he has all this power to create this, why couldn't he have just created the very thing to save her? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So anyway, this maker made this dragon, which is supposedly undefeatable, possibly, that has to be defeated because of the woman that he loves, Margaret. It's feeding off of love or whatever. It's just really makes you scratch your head a little bit and wonder, what the heck was this writer thinking? The undefeatable dragon is feeding and getting more powerful and bigger because of Jason's love of Barbara. So, yeah, we've got a love story here. Once again, I got nothing wrong with a love story in comic books. But once again, we're in a fantastical fantasy, if you will, with a guy that can create things that he wants, but chooses, rather than creating a way to save the woman he loves, Margaret, the maker decides to make a whole plot line where Barbara has to defeat this dragon so they can get what they need, which once again just keeps me scratching my head wondering why. So Barbara comes up with the idea that she has to fight this that's growing off of love of Jason, of her with love, because love is the strongest. But love also can make you weak, bringing up the catch-22 of the power of love. Okay. So in order to help the situation, Barbara decides to talk to Jason and have him talk to her about the woman he loves, which is Barbara, which is her. What's let's be honest here. I guess you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound, because if he was talking to Batgirl and going through this, don't you think he would recognize eventually that this is Barbara? But Barbara's pretty much saying, yeah, you need to tell her this, and I think she'll be okay with it, kind of thing. Which, if you think about it, is pretty underhanded in the first place. So if this does work out, that means later on, if she ever tells him that she's Batgirl here, that he's going to know all this lead up to that and how she lied to him. Ugh, it's not a good situation. So as they talk, Margaret comes up with the idea to use their unity to make a magical sword of unity. Because that's what love is, when two souls become one, which, okay. But let's just say, it's interesting they made a sword then out of unity, so the writer there of the Unearthed, tap, 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 does that, and boom, here comes a sword, and Margaret throws it to Batgirl and says, slay, that the dragon is getting weaker, it's time for those two, Jason and Batgirl, to slay it. Okay. So holding the sword together, they stab it and slay the dragon. And then Jason pulls the scale needed for the spell to help save Margaret off of the dragon. But for some reason, after slaying the dragon, Jason's injuries were too bad and he falls over to die. Where Babs then tells the maker there that bring him back. Give me the elixir of Bond, the dying soul elixir from the book that she read the previous issue. I read it in volume 1. I know it exists. But of course, there's where we get into the issue. There is only enough to save one person. Now here's another little flaw in the story. The scale was the hard thing to get. You just slayed a dragon, so there's a whole lot of scales. They already said all the other things that were involved in this spell, if you will, this elixir, were pretty easy to get. So, hello, save the guy, get some extra scales, and just make something else for Margaret. It's not that hard. This plot hole is so huge. It's ridiculous. So with that big decision, Margaret decides to take the decision into her own hands, pretty much saying, I am willing to die of cancer, let's save Jason. Which is, a really cool thing there to do, but once again, still makes you scratch your head of, if everything else was so easy to get, why can we only do this once? So therefore, Babs takes the elixir, gives it to Jason Bard, and then he awakens okay, and they decide they have to leave now through the portal to return to Earth. So now that they're on Earth, through the portal, they decide to go their separate ways, saying, hey, we're friends. And Jason pretty much says, hey, I have to go talk to the girl, and let her know how I feel. And Babs is, okay. And she decides, she's going to beat him because that way she's there when he gets back. But as she gets ahead of him, she sees, oh, he seems like a nice guy. He's doing good things. But then she notices that, wait a minute, Jason's running. How is he able to run? Something's not right. And then that's when the surprise is. That's what we see. What's next? On the last page, did Jason do this weird thing to this woman? Is this how he was able to run? Or did something come back with him from the unearthed, giving him the ability to run and causing this to the poor soul that she sees before her, ending the issue? All right, so overall, after looking at this issue, I have a couple things I want to talk about. One, the art is okay. Nothing fantastic, but it's okay. It's serviceable here. Nothing to really complain about. But we're into these fantastical sci-fi stories that just really aren't the best thing for Batgirl. I think what Batgirl really needs is a writer, someone like Chuck Dixon, like what he did with the Bat Universe years ago. Ground her a little bit more. We just had a big story with her dealing with the whole Oracle computer thing, which was pretty fantastical too. Batgirl tends to do better when she's more grounded. Let's get her some street-level thugs, things like that, ground level. Sure, you can throw in some of these fantastic things, absolutely, but it's been a little bit too big, too much. Get a writer to ground her more. Get you more street-level thugs. Get her those kinds of guys. Like some of maybe Dick's Rogue Gallery. That would work well with her too. And just give her a little bit more in that area. It is nice to reshaping her character a little bit. She's lost her fortune, and that's sort of a nice little turn and spin. Granted, I've always liked her as Oracle. I liked her as Batgirl too. I really, in the long run, wish that they kept her as Oracle, but if they chose to make her Batgirl, that's fine. Those movements are good. The love triangle now was moving now towards Jason, gives us a veer at the end, which is a nice little twist of story. But overall, this just had too many plot holes. You had a guy that can pretty much make anything he wants, but comes around to save this woman, Margaret, that he loves. He has to make an elixir, but yet he can't just make the elixir. He has to have somebody slay a dragon, because he can't slay a dragon. He couldn't just make it. And then he said the scales of the dragon was the only hard part to get. They killed the whole dragon. They could have got as many scales as they wanted, and everything else was supposed to be easy to get. There was just way too many plot holes in this story. I think the writer was really trying to give some big picture about love, and then they did that twist at the end. I just don't think it worked. It was two issues, too far out there, too big of plot holes. It could have been a lot better. I would probably skip these 2 issues and maybe see what's going on next from there, and hopefully we get some more grounded Batgirl stories. But that's my thoughts. What are yours on this issue? I'd be happy to hear that. I'm interested in checking that out too. Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, keep it frugal.